Welcome, welcome, my friend. I knew you'd find the place. People like you are always looking for the next big thing. This way. Look, I get it. Boxing events, sporting things, they get tired. They're old. You want something that you can really bet into. But then you think you find it, and it's not good enough. So then you need something more real. Something really raw. Something real. You go underground to gambling casinos, other sporting events. You go to high school concussions. But that's not good enough. So you know what? You come here. You came to the right place. Because I know what your little perverted mind needs. The greatest spectacular gambling the world has ever seen. This way. Welcome to the superhero metahuman cockfight!
I don't want to go, sir. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
You gotta love shooting gun back yet. Love just a time, don't you grab it.
So Avengers Endgame is coming soon, marking a big end towards Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as signaling the end of an era. The ultimate culmination of the entire 10-year saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with everything that had preceded it all building up to this very moment. After Thanos accomplished the snap, he achieved his goal of eliminating half of all life in the universe, including a great many beloved characters, but conveniently leaving behind the starting lineup of the 6 core Avengers along with a few sidekick stragglers. Now these 6 original Avengers are charged with facing down the greatest threat ever seen by the universe, or any superhero movie in general, and are responsible for saving and bringing back everyone who died during the infamous snap, or as it's now known as, the Decimation. How the Avengers will accomplish this still largely remains a mystery, but we know they're successful given the fact that we've seen the trailers for Spider-Man Far From Home, where both he and Nick Fury are alive and well, despite audiences having seen them both crumble into dust at the end of Infinity War. It's funny, I'm sure Marvel Studios wanted to keep that trailer under wraps for as long as possible, but you can't wait forever to start promoting your $200 million tentpole movie, especially when it's a co-production with Sony. So the question remains, given the fact that we've established that the core Avengers team will probably be going on one last self-sacrificing suicide mission, who will actually survive the titular Endgame? Endgame is more than just a final plan to save the universe. It is also the figurative endgame of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we've seen up to this point. It is the culmination of over a decade of work in terms of creating the biggest cinematic universe the world has ever seen and redefining the landscape of pop culture. So in this, we'll be seeing a figurative goodbye for the original founding Avengers. It's a very fitting end from both the thematic standpoint as well as a financial one. Just about every one of these actors has reached the point in their contracts where they fulfilled the 6 to 9 movie appearances that they were contractually obligated to make, which means if they're going to appear in more movies that they'll need to renegotiate, which will be very, very expensive, especially given how successful these franchises have become. Robert Downey Jr. got $50 million for appearing again in the first Avengers movie, and that's not something that's very cost-effective for Disney to keep paying all of their leading talent $50 million per movie. Success is a terrible habit of making things more prohibitively expensive. It's been rumored that half of the $1 billion that was invested into producing both parts of Avengers 3 went to handling talent costs alone. So while dead characters like Spider-Man and Black Panther will be brought back, because actors like Tom Holland and Chadwick Boseman are relatively early in their contracts where they can't demand exorbitant pay increases, the 2 Chris's and Robert Downey Jr. have become too expensive. So out of the 6 core Avengers and the 6 people who play them, not everyone is going to make it out alive.
That Hollywood pseudo-intellectual bullshit! It's time to give the people what they want! Place your bets! Place your bets! It's time for the greatest metahuman fight you've ever known! And if you follow my betting tips, I'm gonna make you filthy, stinking rich!
So first up, we have Iron Man. Now there's a very good chance that he's not making it, and the first Endgame trailer seems designed to prep audiences for his final fate. And in all honesty, I was surprised Spider-Man died in Infinity War instead of him, because he's generally the highest paid out of all the Marvel actors. He has the most negotiating leverage out of all of them, simply because the declaration of
I am Iron Man
was the cry that birthed the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe and served to create the template of what a modern Marvel movie is, which has been built on the back of Tony Stark's snark to such a degree that the actor and the character have become indistinguishable, to the point where certain interviews feel like Robert Downey Jr. is still in character playing Tony Stark. It will be difficult, but the mantle of Iron Man can be passed on, and it's not a coincidence that the character of Riri Williams is being built up in the comic world, because there would not be a better PR move than to kill off Tony Stark than replace him with a black teenage girl. Plus, killing him works on a thematic level, since the whole point of his larger arc is that Tony is always the guy who believes he can think his way out of any problem, without facing any larger consequences. His potential sacrifice at the end of the first Avengers movie was enough to give him PTSD, so it makes sense that his final arc will be taking one for the team and learning the meaning of sacrifice to help save the larger universe. The first major trailer for Avengers Endgame seems to be built around prepping audiences to get ready to see him die, so he's just about a given. There's a small chance that he could pull a Rick Grimes where they imply that he's going to die, but leave his fate ambiguous so they can bring him back in the future if things are going south. But he's just too expensive at this point to let live. Iron Man is a 2-to-1 at best, but chances are, I'd say he's got a 100% perfect chance of death during the Avengers Endgame. He's not making it out of this one alive.
Oh man, you think old Shellhead's gonna win? Easiest bet on the planet. You ain't gonna make no money off of that. You wanna make money, you put your money on something more dangerous. Let's make this fun.
Next up, we have our first in our lineup of Chris's, Chris Evans, aka Captain America. Now, while Iron Man could pull a Rick Grimes, there's no chance Captain America is coming back. Chris Evans has been very vocal that this is the last time he'll ever be putting on the suit. He seems tired of the role and is ready to move on to something else, and given the fact that you have both the Winter Soldier and the Falcon potentially in waiting to pick up Captain's shield, and the comics have a long legacy of the title of Captain America being passed on to different people, everything is in place for Captain America to make his final noble sacrifice, especially since he spent most of Infinity War blathering about how we don't trade lives. But now it looks like he'll probably have to trade his to defeat Thanos. The fact that we're getting a Falcon/Winter Soldier TV series is even more evidence that their show could see them both competing to see who is worthy to take up the mantle of Captain America and wield the shield, or maybe they both take on the roles simultaneously. If there's anyone who's not making out of this one, it's Captain America, and given how much flack Marvel gets for having so many superheroes played by white guys named Chris, it makes sense that this Chris would be the most expendable. There are also rumors that the Endgame will involve time hopping, and I've heard rumors that there will be a scene where Captain America picks up Thor's old hammer and shield for a final last stand against Thanos to buy time, and if that holds true, I couldn't think of a better way for the character to exit. 100% dead, 1-in-1 chance of death, he's gone, baby.
Boring bet. No risk, no challenge. Come on, I know you can do better than that. What, you gonna bet on a guy with the basic bitch powers who's going to die first? Oh, I can run really fast. I can do pull-ups. Come on, get to the back of the line, Cap. Give me a metahuman that can do something more than throw a frisbee real hard.
Next, we have the other Chris, the God of Thunder Thor. Now, this is a bit trickier. Out of the core original 3 franchise holders, he was the weakest performer. Not that the Thor movies were terrible or did poorly, they still managed to make money, but they never seemed to generate the same level of excitement as Captain America or the Iron Man movies. The first one is mildly liked because of the fish out of water humor.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
And the scenes where Hemsworth takes off his shirt. The second movie is still considered to be one of the worst films in the MCU. While personally I don't think it's that bad, I do find it pretty forgettable. And then you have the anomaly of Thor Ragnarok. This is where Marvel gave up any pretensions of trying to sell the Thor movies as the fantasy-tinged realm of the MCU, and basically turned things into a neon-soaked 80s-themed pulp Star Wars knockoff that is more in line with the cosmic Guardians of the Galaxy films than the previous Thor movies, and people seem to like it a lot. Chris Hemsworth seemed to like playing funny Thor a lot more than serious Thor, and out of the main Avengers cast seems to be the only one who really still wants to be there. and given the fact that just about every other film he's been in, like Snow White and the Huntsman, has basically been a non-starter, he needs the MCU money more than anyone else. So if anything, he has a better chance of surviving or dying and being brought back through some form of cosmic malarkey. I'd say he's got a 3-to-1 chance of surviving the Endgame. Marvel wants to kill their Chris's and replace them with more diverse people, but this Chris still wants to make money and is more than willing to play ball than the other one. He's got the best chance of living.
Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, too many Chris's. Kill them all if you ask me. But this Chris knows how to survive. No one wants to see no shitty Huntsman movies. This Chris, 5-to-1 chance of surviving.
So now we have the Hulk. He's a bit of an enigma. So apparently due to legal complications with Universal, Marvel can't make a Hulk solo movie, which is why we saw the Planet Hulk story folded into Thor Ragnarok. So they've been using their main series movies to tell a full Hulk story over the course of Thor Ragnarok and the 2 Avengers movies, which, if rumors are to be believed, will see Bruce Banner and the Hulk merging to become the smart version of the Hulk. Marvel knows that people like the Hulk and enjoy seeing him around, and he works very well as a supporting foil. Rumors have been persisting that only 2 out of the original 6 Avengers managed to survive, and it would make sense that all the most powerful people all get the axe. But I think if there's anyone who they'd want to keep around, it'd be Mark Ruffalo, since he's always a supporting character and not a lead. Plus, people like watching the Hulk smash and the Hulk play off other people. And he's probably the cheapest out of all the Avengers. I think there's a good chance they'll keep him around just from the novelty alone, unless they really want to kill all the superpowered Avengers. I'd say he's got a 4-to-1 chance of making it.
The Jolly Green Giant. Everyone loves the Hulk. He is the strongest. But just like in prison, to be the strongest, you have to beat the strongest. But that Mark Ruffalo guy might get a little uppity. So it may be time to get Asian Hulk in there, because Ruffalo might want more green for turning green.
Hawkeye is interesting. Out of all the Avengers, he's gotten the least amount of screen time, and no one particularly likes him very much. He's just the guy who shoots arrows. They had a skit on SNL mocking how underwhelming it is to just be the guy who shoots arrows at stuff.
Yeah, like a bow and arrow dude.
Like super arrows?
Nah, normal arrows. I mean, he's just really, really good at it.
I'm out of arrows. What? I'm all out of arrows. I don't have any more. So, I guess I'm done, right? You know? All right, I'll be in the car. Stay safe. You guys got this.
How many arrows did you bring?
All of them, like 11.
Jeremy Renner is also not a box office draw and probably has the least amount of negotiating power out of all the Marvel cast members. No one is dying for a Hawkeye movie. He hasn't made any appearances outside of the mainline Avengers movies except for way back in Phase 1 with Iron Man 2 and I guess Civil War. But man, I almost forgot he was even in that. If there's anyone who is the most disposable from both an audience and fan engagement perspective, it's Hawkeye, but on the other hand, he's one of the few human normal Avengers who technically has no superpowers. And it'd be fitting that maybe he and the last person on this list are the last survivors and both take on Steve Rogers' Captain America role as co-team leads as they raise the next generation of Avengers in Phase 4. I'd say he's got a 5-to-1 chance of death. He's the most expendable and forgettable Avenger, but there are practical and thematic reasons to keep him around.
Because everyone loves Hawkeye. He's so cool. Because that's everyone's fantasy, to shoot an arrow really fast. There was a movie a couple months ago, Robin Hood, with Jamie Foxx, and nobody gave a crap about that. Nobody's gonna care if you kill off the most meaningless, pointless Avenger. He gone.
Now we have the final Avenger from the original starting lineup, the only woman in the cast, the Black Widow herself, Scarlett Johansson. Out of all the Avengers, she's got the best chance of making it out alive. Black Widow has been a bit of a controversial figure throughout the duration of the Marvel movies. Originally, back when we saw her in Iron Man 2, she really wasn't much more than a glorified eye candy designed to be fan service in the most literal sense. She was poorly utilized and barely even a character, and only got to fight a bunch of nameless henchmen in a largely forgettable sequence in a forgettable movie. Joss Whedon figured her out in the Avengers with her signature interrogation scenes where she would pretend to be vulnerable in order to get her hands on to divulge important information. This was a great little subversion and did wonders to make her feel more unique than most femme fatale spy characters. But since then, we've had controversy surrounding the fact that there were no action figures made of her, as well as controversy centered around her awkward Hulk romance in Age of Ultron, and also seeing her herself as a monster because of her Russian spy training made her infertile. While I personally think the whole monster theme in Age of Ultron was represented by the fact that she'd killed a lot of people and felt bad about it, A lot of people didn't feel that way and complained about how her character had been ruined. She still managed to be a mainstay in the MCU, serving as a supportive, flirtatious foil for characters like Captain America, and there has been a great demand for a Black Widow solo movie, which it now appears that Marvel looks like they're going to deliver at some point in the future for Phase 4, and have even started to look at directors to make the Black Widow solo film. So for the gender politic reasons, it's doubtful that they'll want to kill her off, and obviously the future talk of solo movies is all but a guarantee that she'll live and get to stick around. There's also a lot of talk that as things move forward, we'll see a more diverse set of Marvel heroes that will move away from casting white guys named Chris. We can see that with the announcement of the Shang-Chi movie, which is being billed as the first Asian-led superhero movie, and there's even talks that we'll see a Miss Marvel movie in the future. Chances are we won't know what Phase 4 will entail until Endgame is released into the world, and Marvel can outline their future plans without spoiling things. But it seems like they want to address the criticism of not featuring enough diversity, and the success of Black Panther has shown that applying the MCU aesthetic to other cultures can be very profitable. So what better way would it be to spearhead this future than by having Black Widow be one of the sole surviving original Avengers who takes on the Captain America role in terms of training and serving as a leader for a more diverse and inclusive set of new Avengers who better reflect the diversity of the film-going audience who have turned this into a $10 billion mega franchise. It makes too much sense to kill off all the Chris's and have Black Widow take over and lead the new Avengers going forward, while also giving the character her own solo franchise film that people have been wanting to see for a while. Whether or not this will work in practice is another matter entirely. As of right now, she works best as a supporting character, and sometimes when you force supporting characters to take up roles they're not suited for, can lead to trouble. The best example of this is Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He only really works in the first film because he had a straight man to play off with, Orlando Bloom, but in all the subsequent sequels where he was forced to take the role of a lead character, it just didn't work because the demands of being a traditional lead character in a Disney tentpole movie meant he couldn't be as scummy or as subversive as he was in the first movie. He always had to do the right thing at the end of the day and remain in a heroic light, which ultimately made him a much less interesting character, much the same way Solo was all but sanitized and cleaned up for his prequel movie. Black Widow has a chance of struggling with the same potential problem since she worked great as a flirtatious, morally gray foil for Captain America and the Winter Soldier. It's not impossible that she can't overcome that limitation and work just fine in a leading role, but it's something that whoever winds up handling her in the future will have to be aware of. But those are all the reasons she isn't going to die, and she'll probably be around for a long time to come. Unless someone uncovers some offensive tweets in Scarlett Johansson's Twitter feed from 10 years ago, then there'll be a last-minute edit to kill her off. But I don't see that happening. She's got a 20-1, no, make that 1,000-to-1 chance of death.
Oh yeah, they're totally gonna kill off the only chick. In 2019, I'm with her.
So there you have it, my betting odds of survival. So go call your bookie in Vegas, place your bets, only a few months away before the greatest show on Earth makes its debut and we finally see who will live and who will die and ultimately who will carry the torch forward in the MCU for the next decade going forward. So let me know in the comments who you will be betting on, living or dying, and how much money do you want to stake. Then come back in April and let's see who's right to earn their bragging rights in the meta-human brawl. But before we go, I think there's someone special who's looking to place a bet, a real high roller.
Shut up! Shut up! Quiet down! The big boss is making a call. He's placing his bet.
This is Solid Snake, aka Big Boss. We live in a culture obsessed with superheroes. But the real heroes are the ones forged on the battlefield. They're the heroes that don't get a movie franchise. But I'll bet a whole Metal Gear that Cap is a goner.
Holy shit, was that David Hayter, the voice of Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series? If there's anyone who knows how to place a winning bet, it's Solid Snake. But you know what's a winning bet that a high roller like you can make and win every time? Bounty. Bounty is an exciting new crowdfunding platform that helps give creators like me a new way to interact with our audience and more consistently monetize our content. The way it works is I can put up future ideas for future videos I want to make, then you donate whatever you feel like to encourage me to make content you want to see. I've included 3 perk levels. Level 1, the production assistant level, gets your name in the credits at the end of the video. Level 2, the production coordinator level, gets a spoken mention and a thank you at the end of the credits. And finally, level 3, the line producer level, gets your name featured on a piece of paper held by Captain Crunch and a special thank you at the end of the video during the credits. For the month of April, I'm planning a special themed month focused entirely on making videos on Game of Thrones to celebrate the final season in a little event I'm calling a Month of Ice and Fire. I've posted the 4 Game of Thrones topics I'm going to make videos on, but if you want to help decide which video I'm going to work on first, then place a bounty on the one you want to see, and I'll produce that one first once we get into April. Put your money where your mouth is on what you want to see most. Users can also place bounties as well for creators to accept on things that you'd like to see them do. So if you want to make a bet that you have a chance of winning, then come on over, check out my bounty page. I'm up there with such luminary web stars as VoiceOver Pete. Link to my bounty page in the description below if you want to help me take another step to turning this into my full-time career. Special thank you to Tim and his friends who volunteer their time to come and shoot the live action segments. If you want to give Tim a special thanks, subscribe to his channel, Tim and the Bald Sexy, for whatever stuff he's looking to do in the future. Link in the description below for that as well. Thanks for sticking around, and remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.